Hello and welcome to the Marketing Times Analytics podcast. I'm your host, Alex Safranis, and today we're on with Cahill Camden. Cahill, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Cahill Camden. I run Digital Vision Media Group and a couple of software platforms, software tools that help you get more media faster. So whether that's traditional media or whether you want to be on podcasts, I've got two AI-powered tools that help you do that fast. One is called Jockey and called Press Jockey.
Yeah, so tell us more about these AI tools and what was the precipice for creating them?
So I created my agency about 10 years ago, and I've been focused on helping people create better content, helping people do paid media, help people get earned media. And what I realized over the time of running my agency is that we just had to hire more and more people to actually do the things we wanted. And I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. I feel like we can leverage software, automations, AI, and then I didn't find what I needed in the market. And so I decided to build it. And it took way longer than I actually expected. But now we're at a place where these tools work fantastic for agencies, business owners, founders, executives, etc.
And now a quick word from our sponsor for this episode, Adverity. Is your marketing team drowning in data? With so many platforms and sources, it can be overwhelming. If you're spending more time organizing data than analyzing it, you're not alone. But what if you had a solution that makes your marketing data work for you? Introducing Adverity, the platform that helps you build a unified and accurate data foundation. Adverity integrates and transforms all of your marketing data in one place, allowing your marketing and analytics teams to spot trends, optimize performance, and drive results faster. No more guessing and no more data chaos. Just insights that matter. Trusted by global brands like Amex, IKEA, and Red Bull, Adverity has helped businesses gain a competitive advantage and unlock their full potential. Ready to make your data extraordinary? Visit adverity.com and book your demo today. That's Adverity, ADVERITY.com, because your data deserves better. Thanks. And now, back to the episode. What's the process of building an AI tool?
You've got to start with the overall idea on what you're trying to accomplish and decide if AI is going to actually help you get further ahead in your software goals, because AI is a very hot topic, right? But it's not necessarily applicable in all circumstances. In some circumstances, there's not necessarily a need to use it. In other circumstances, it works mildly well. And then in some circumstances, it's really fantastic. And so we had to decide whether it was going to be at the core of our product, which it is, or if it was going to be an addition to helping customers actually accomplish their goals. So that's how we made that decision.
Okay, gotcha. Can you walk us through exactly what is the inputs and outputs of these products?
So with Jockey, if you're looking to get on podcasts, there's really a couple of options that you've got. You can do it manually, so you can search through traditional databases that give you, hey, here's all the data at once. You've got to sort through and find what's a good match for yourself. You've got to figure out which podcasts are active, which podcasts have guests, etc. Then you've got to write your own pitches. You've got to make your own bio. You've got to do all these manual tasks. Okay, so that's part one. Part two is you can say, hey, I don't want to do this myself. I'll pay an agency to do it. And you're likely going to spend thousands of dollars a month, or $300, $350, $450 sometimes per placement. And that's going to cost you a lot of money. Or you can go for the third option, which is what we built, which is a tool that helps do it with you. And so that tool automatically filters through millions of podcasts, gives you the relevant ones so you don't have to spend a lot of time, automatically creates a pitch for you at the click of a button based on your bio and your previous experience. You click a button to send a pitch and you're done. It's very fast and effective. And so it's also a fraction of the price, and it's a fraction of the time you'd spend doing this on your own. Press Jockey is very similar, but it's more for traditional media. So if you're looking to get media placements in the New York Times, Forbes magazine, different types of blogs, etc., there's a whole world out there of journalists, bloggers, etc., who are looking for experts like you, whoever's listening. there are journalists looking for experts like you, and you just have to respond to them, give them your input, and then you may get a quote, or you may get featured, or you may get a paragraph or two in an article that they're writing. And so we automate that process, we simplify that process, and we built a tool to help you quickly do that.
How are you approaching marketing these products, and who are you marketing them towards?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the end result for both of these is you get more brand exposure and you get to build your influence as a business leader and a thought leader. And so what does that mean? If you have more influence, you can have better sales. You can have higher conversion rates. You have more traffic to your site. You have more people wanting to work with you. All of these things happen, more partnership opportunities. And so that's the end result. The people that we are targeting right now for getting more media exposure and doing this, getting more brand influence, are founders, small business owners who want to actually push forward, and then as well agencies who are doing this for clients and customers who were like me, and they're saying, hey, we do a great job when we get opportunities, but we're spending a lot of time finding the right opportunities, pitching opportunities, trying to get our clients in front of the right people. And we want to optimize that process. So those are who the targets are. And how we're marketing it, it's a combination. Right now, we're doing cold prospecting. So that is something we're looking at. Content marketing is something we are just in the phases of building. And then we're also looking at product marketing and how we can build tools internally that users and customers can use that will help build those viral loops and help push things forward.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, can you walk us through the process and maybe the decision-making process for these tools? Like, how did you decide on these tools specifically to build over all the other possibilities?
It really came from trying to solve my own problem, which was inefficiency with my agency. I did not spend a lot of time doing market analysis, looking at the total addressable market and all these things that maybe one should do. I naively thought, hey, I can build a tool for myself that will help our agency accelerate and do far better work for our customers and clients in a shorter period of time. And that process was how I decided to actually go down this path, because I was in it. We were manually doing these things and I wanted to apply software to it.
And then in terms of building, was there a particular tool you used to build? It's an AI-based tool, right?
Yeah, we built it from the ground up. There are no code tools that you can use to do some things. That's actually how we prototyped a couple of our ideas, and some of the ideas that we had for efficiency and optimization, we actually didn't go forward with. But for these tools, we prototyped, for example, we prototyped Echo Jockey very roughly. And then we said, hey, it looks like it can work. Let's go forward with it in actual development. So then we hired developers and built our tool internally.
Okay. How long did it take to build the tool from hiring the first developer to MVP?
It's not done yet, but there's always an ongoing process to keep on iterating and making your tool better. But at the current point in time, we're at 2 years plus for Press Jockey, and we're at about 8 months for Echo Jockey. Oh yeah, absolutely. We've got customers using them and having crazy success.
That's awesome. So how long did it take to get to that usable state?
Okay. So it took Press Jockey probably about 6 months to get to the usable state. Echo Jockey was a little faster because we had experience already from building Press Jockey. So that was a few months to get it to a usable state. It was very rough though, but you could use it and it worked if you had the patience for it. And we have some people who did have the patience for it and they had success with it, but we kept on iterating. And so now at about just a couple months ago, I'd say it became really powerful. And we just pushed another update that took it to a whole nother level. And that was in the last month. So about 7 months then.
Do you think that AI will ever leapfrog all of the AI businesses that are being created? Like right now, AI doesn't have the context to understand business. With the sort of trajectory towards a general artificial intelligence, do you think that will surpass all of the AI tools that are built, or do you think that they'll evolve in parallel with the general AI?
Yeah, I'm actually worried about that. I do think there's a real risk that there will be artificial intelligence in terms of general AI that is able to do most of the work that knowledge workers do, which will eliminate the need for a lot of knowledge workers. I do think Sam Altman is going down that path. I do think he's aiming to be the world's first trillionaire. He's aiming to have a general artificial intelligence that can do whatever you want it to do. It's literally a superhuman PhD level, multiple PhD level type software that can do anything all the time, 24/7, 365, without having to pay it more than whatever, $20 a month, $30 a month, $50 a month, whatever it is. I do think we're going down that path. And I think that it's concerning.
When it comes to marketing, you're probably pretty aware of the different AI tools and use cases. What are some of the more interesting AI use cases in marketing that you've come across?
Notebook from Google. That is pretty wild. I don't know if you've seen it. I actually have it up on a tab here, just in my browser window. It's where you can actually give it a script and it will have one or two or more human voices talking on a podcast, just as we are right now. And it sounds real. Of course, there's a tiny bit where it sounds, oh, okay, is that real? You have a little bit of that doubt, but it is very good. And it's version 1. And so I don't doubt that within the next few years, we're already seeing this. If you go on YouTube, there's a lot of these faceless YouTube channels that are leveraging AI-based voices and B-roll footage from stock photos and from stock videography to create YouTube channels that have tens of thousands of subscribers, if not more. And so I would not be surprised if the marketing avenues for efficiency become, hey, AI, create viral posts for me, create viral podcasts, viral videos. I don't want to be a part of it. Just create as much content as you can in relation to my product or service and just push it out. And I do think we're already seeing that. I think that will continue to grow.
It's interesting to watch this creator economy develop, because the economy was created based off of the idea that it took labor or effort to create content. And that's why there's this payment mechanism for the content and the attention that it attracts. In a world where it's virtually free to create content, the way that most businesses they start very generous. And as people get used to that generosity, they tighten the purse strings a little bit. If we look at Uber used to be cheaper than taxis. Now it's expensive. Airbnb used to be cheaper. Now it's, when it comes to creator payouts, 10 years ago, it was much harder to create and distribute high quality YouTube videos. There was no AI whatsoever. Now you can create a video, like you could create 100 videos at the same time. So do you think that YouTube will react to that and maybe adjust down the payment for creators now that it's so much easier to create content, and projecting out into the future? Of course, like right now we're still in this middle phase, but I think over time I would speculate that they'll reduce that payment.
Yeah, to your point, like you've seen it with Airbnb, you've seen it with Uber, you've seen it with every service does that. They attract users at a very low cost or free basis, and then they start increasing prices until they find their optimal price point where they're getting enough growth and they have a certain amount of churn and they've got enough lifetime value for a customer that it makes sense for them. Yeah. So yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you see as the future of like YouTube created content? Do you think that's going to proliferate, or do you think it will continue to be largely user or creator driven content?
I think we've got to define what creator driven means, because creator driven could be AI creation. Like, what difference does it make versus human creation? So I think that YouTube will always remain creator driven in terms of something will create content that you can consume. And there's a high probability and possibility that it will be algorithmically generated so that it's literally the most optimal thing for you personally. But whether that's created by humans or not is, I don't think it will be, actually. And I don't think it will be nearly as much, especially not at scale. I could be wrong, but That's just the direction I see it going. I'm sure you've heard of the dead internet theory, I believe it's called, where there's speculation of 60-70% of the web is already AI created. And if you look at content, for example, right, like you look at blog content, and I always joke about this. It's, hey, I want to understand, go and search for what is LTV, what is lifetime value? And it's, okay, you find an article. Here's how LTV came about. Here's why LTV is important. Here's who started LTV. And it's like all these nonsense things that we just don't actually need. Is answer my question. And the reason why it's done that way is because it changes the algorithm and Google starts ranking it higher, and you start getting more traffic, et cetera, which leads you to get more clients, more conversion rates, blah, blah, blah. All right. But I don't think humans are writing a lot of that content. And it's okay. So as general AI or even content-driven AI, what I believe is copy.ai, or there's others that are out there, as that gets better and better, the content will continue to become indistinguishable from human written content. It will become very good. And we just don't know if it's human or AI. If that's already happening with content, why would it not happen with video or audio? A software already has avatars that are very good. Like the first version avatars of a year ago, the mouth just had a few movements. Now the avatars are very good, 4K quality. They look like humans. The mouth movements are almost where it needs to be to say, hey, if I were to turn this off, this is a real human. It's very good. And again, we're 2 years into this. I think we're going to see a lot of creator content on YouTube, but it's going to be AI based, unfortunately.
And then if we project that reality into the future, won't there be a sort of implosion point where the AI can't just continue to create forever, where it needs that feedback? And do you think we'll eventually go overboard? And what would that look like?
I would speculate that, I suppose I would be interested to understand, why might there be an implosion point at all? Why can't content just be created forever based on all of the content that has already been created? Like, why can't we just continue to drive forward until AGI comes out where it can come up with its own thoughts? Like, why could that not happen? And I don't see a reason why that could not happen. Can you consume all the content? Of course not, but you can't consume all the content right now or even 5 years ago. So what difference does it really make? I don't know if there's an implosion point per se. I think that from a marketing perspective and from a business perspective, I think it's going to become increasingly important to carve out your niche and really establish human-to-human connections in communities, in real-life events, with gated type of content, so that you are known as that authority and you are known as that authentic person. Versus,
think about is like, how can we position ourselves to succeed in this likely scenario of increasingly improving AI? So in terms of your businesses, is there any analytics component, any numbers that you're looking at? Perhaps like how many people that you're reaching out to and the conversion rate that is included in these offerings?
yes, great question. We do look at analytics and data in terms of assessing the search that you're doing. We do track what is happening with your outreach on, for example, Press Jockey. So that connects to your email and do pixel tracking there. And then on top of it, we're sitting on really large amounts of data so that down the road, we will start to do business intelligence as it relates to tracking topics, trends, search, etc. So that's also a possibility. We just haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, for example, let's take Echo Jockey. So Echo Jockey gives you the ability to quickly search and find exactly the podcast that you want. We layer in a number of factors into our own algorithm. We call it the Podcast Compatibility Index, this trademark term of ours. And the PCI, Podcast Compatibility Index, assesses a number of factors about a podcast and gives you a rank. And that rank is all based on analytics. The evolution of that is it will take the podcast data and different data points from the podcast. It will take your bio or your profile data and a number of different data points there. It will take your search term and it will understand who you're trying to target based on your profile. It will rearrange the algorithm to find you better matches so that you can get on podcasts faster and get in front of your target audience or your ideal customer profile. That's all data-based. That's an example of how we use it. For context purposes, doing this on 4 million plus podcasts. Most people won't tell you this, but at least half of those podcasts are not active. So we have data on 4 million podcasts. We pull in over 10,000 episodes a day for all the active podcasts. You can imagine 10,000 episodes a day. Average episode is, let's say, an hour. So you're talking about 10,000 hours of data a day, and how much content in terms of words per minute spoken is in that data. There's a lot of data that we can start running interesting business intelligence and insights on. We just haven't gotten there yet, but we've got things like the PCI that will help you get better results immediately.
So is this aimed at like business executives who want to be guests on podcasts to get the word out about their business, or who's exactly the intended audience?
You're exactly right. Business executives, founders, anyone who's looking to build their influence in their industry and get in front of their ideal customer profile, their target audience. That's who this is for.
I like that. I definitely know a few people who would be interested in that. Myself included, frankly.
Yeah. When you compare it to doing this manually, you're going to spend dozens of hours doing it. And I know that because we have an agency and we did it for clients for many years, spending dozens of hours manually reaching out to podcasts and podcast hosts, searching databases, searching the internet, doing all our research, tracking, all these things. So you're going to spend time doing it. Or you're going to pay an agency like my agency. You're going to pay anywhere from $2,000 on the low end, $5,000 a month or more on the high end. Or you're going to pay between, let's say, $250 and $500 per podcast placement. So you get on 3 podcasts, $1,500, $1,200 a month. Or you can do this for a fraction of the price at $20 to $70. And it will do most of the work for you. So instead of spending dozens of hours, you spend minutes, and you will get better results than having an agency do like a media blast, which is what they call it. They've got their own list of podcasts that they typically work with, or their own list of media that they typically work with. They'll template your message and just send a blast to 500 people at once and just cross their fingers and see who responds. And then you'll get on a number of podcasts and you get on a number of places, and that's it. So you get better results for a fraction of the price and a fraction of the time.
Yeah, I really like that. It's a really specific idea, which I like the most. It's like a specific use case, something that you can really own and make it the best in the world. And that's really admirable. Are there any competitors right now to this technology?
There are some databases out there who they've been early in the game. We have the same data set they have and more actually. But what they do is they just say, hey, here's all the data. You do the search. You have to go through and filter it on your own. You have to decide what podcasts are good and what podcasts are not good. You have to use multiple platforms because one platform doesn't do all of the insight that you need. They're also more expensive. So not only are you going to do work on multiple platforms and have a lot more time spent on the platforms, but you're going to spend more money. What we wanted to do and what I was thinking is, what's the ultimate end goal? The ultimate end goal is, and this is what we're working towards. You come into the platform, you say, hey, my name is Alex. I want to get in front of these types of people. This is my business. And the tool will understand who you are, understand what your business is about, go out and find podcasts on a daily or weekly basis, automatically pitch them for you, and just book them into your calendar. That's the ultimate end goal that we're shooting for. And I think we'll get there relatively quickly. We're talking like within the next months. Like we're really close. Already, you can put in your name. The AI will find your profile on LinkedIn. It will search the internet for you. It will write your own bio. It will automatically find podcasts for you based on your bio. You press a single button, it will write a pitch for you. That is actually quite good related to your bio of the podcast. We're already getting there. And this is where we're going to continue pushing forward so that it becomes really efficient for you. So when you mention competitors, like there's not really anyone who's doing it to that extent. or doing it that well. You will find a couple other databases out there where it's, yeah, here, good luck. Go ahead, search through millions of podcasts. Oh, and by the way, half of them are not in existence anymore, but they're not going to tell you that. They're just going to say, it's up to you to figure that out. And so I didn't want to take that approach. I want to take an efficiency approach.
Yeah. So one of the values of this service is finding podcasts, but what about finding guests? What about for the podcasts who need to find people to add to the podcast as a guest? Are you planning to add that as a functionality?
Yes, we already have that in the works. So we have a speaker network that every single person who comes in on any of the profiles, whether you're on the light, the pro, the agency, or enterprise level, you get a speaker profile that is, think about it like LinkedIn for your media kit, speaker kit, press kit. You automatically get that. And so as you start to get onto more podcasts, as you start to showcase yourself in the media, you can simply add your links. And again, we're going to make it automated so that it automatically is searching for you on a regular basis. But for now, you just add your links and you have a profile that you can then share with podcasters, and podcasters can search. So now it's the reverse. Instead of you searching for podcast hosts or webinar hosts or summit hosts, they can actually go to the speaker network, search for someone who talks about digital marketing and analytics, and all of a sudden a number of people will come up. And then we'll have the PCI index that's reversed for them. So a podcast host will say, here's what my podcast is all about. Here's who I'm really looking to connect with. Now go search, and it will rank people based on their profiles and based on their previous media exposure. So that's already in the works. We have the profile ready. We're about to open it up to the public and to everyone to be able to search in the next couple of weeks. So that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm glad you thought that through, because hearing it from my perspective, I spend most of my time finding people, and I do get the occasional recommendation on this should be a guest. And that's good. I will often take recommendations for guests that are recommended, but that's not enough typically to satisfy the number of guests needed for the average podcast. Usually it's like a combination of inbound and outbound. So that's good that you're addressing both sides.
Yep. We're not there yet, but it's coming. It's definitely coming. And by the end of the year, I think we'll have a solid speaker network up. Podcast hosts will be able to search through the network and find different guests.
Yeah. And then when you get that done, you are like 1/5 through the way of getting the entire podcast system automated, right? All you have to do then is handle the recording, the automation for editing, and then the posting.
I don't know if we'll go down that direction, but the next thing, so I actually had a top 1% podcast a few years ago, and I actually stopped it. And I regret stopping it because it was in the cryptocurrency space, blockchain, Web3. And at the time, we were getting thousands of downloads per episode. And I was like, how am I going to ever make money from this? It wasn't really leading to the things that I wanted. And so I pulled the plug on it. And so I know that pain. And that is the next thing that we're going to be looking at is how do we give podcasters the ability to start earning from their podcasts? You can use Patreon. You can do that. Absolutely. You can have merch. You can go down that path. Great. I think it's also effective to have some type of ability to have sponsorships for your podcast. And right now the space is quite fragmented. And for any podcast that's not a top 1% or higher, it's really hard to get ad revenue. And so that's the direction I think we'll go next is how do we, once we have the speaker network up and people can connect, great. How do podcasters say, hey, look, you can sponsor my show for $100, $200. It's not a lot of money, but we have maybe not thousands of listeners per episode. We have 300 or 500, but it's 300 really targeted people. And for $100 an episode, it's really worth it. And that money can go towards helping podcasters grow, helping you do editing, helping you enhance what your content creation is all about. And so that's the direction we go next before we do hosting and all of that.
I really like that. Yeah. It's tough for multiple. Like you have to find which businesses are the best fit based on your audience. You have to know your audience first. Then you need to know what business wants to market to the audience. So you also have to know like what audience other businesses are targeting. Those are not standardized pieces of information. You can just research. You can also be clever in typing in like keywords and see who's bidding on what. there are ways to sort of reason to what businesses want the same audience as they are addressing. But yes, it is tricky. It's like that perfect relationship between the podcast and the sponsor. All of that would be considered the easy part compared to actually breaking into the company, finding the right person, getting them to be interested in sponsoring, and then getting the sponsorship deal done. All of that's another level of challenge. It's good that you're starting to address that system because it is a really manual system. And I think AI could do a lot to simplify it, especially with just matchmaking.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. And you said it perfectly. It is a manual process right now. Or you're going to larger companies, it's not in their benefit or interest to work small podcasts because we don't make money from that. We make money from the Joe Rogans and Tim Ferriss, the large podcasts who will partner with us, and they have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of listeners per episode. These are the where, hey, if we make 10% commission on advertising sales, this is fantastic for us. And so it's a manual process right now. And I know this again because we have done this for clients, manually reaching out to hundreds and hundreds of podcasts, seeing if we could either have a CEO or founder on the podcast, and also seeing what the sponsorship opportunities were, assessing the sponsorship opportunities, then deciding where our marketing budgets were going to be spent, looking at analytics for dozens and dozens of shows that we were considering. And this is just a very manual, time-consuming process.
Why do you think podcasts have been so successful the last few years?
I think there's a group of people who are really interested in long-form content, and to be able to listen to two people like yourself and I talk about different topics, different subjects, and really go deep on a number of topics, I think that's really needed. The other thing is, unlike video or written communication, you can listen to audio while you're doing something else. And so everyone's busy, everyone's trying to do multiple things. And so whether I'm driving or going for a run or at the gym or cooking or whatever it is, I can listen to education and insight versus sitting down and having to watch it or sitting down and having to read. And so I think that's part of the reason why podcasts have really been super successful.
Yeah, I agree. The efficiency play of listening to a podcast and doing something else is unmatched. I feel like in today's day and age, it's an innate human desire to produce and to be productive. If you can do multiple things at the same time, wasting less time, right? Because we all waste some time, but you make up for it if you're more efficient in other ways.
I do think that there's this balance, though, where we're all trying to over optimize our life. And I think that there's good and bad in that. It's like a double-edged sword. For example, for me, I have purposefully said that when I'm walking to the office, I will not listen to anything. I'm just going to be. Because I used to listen to podcasts at 1.5, 1.75, 2 times speed, depending on how slow someone is talking, and go texting at the same time. And it's just be in the moment. Because being in the moment, I think also gives you efficiency and gives you clarity and helps you perform better when you need to be performing. And if you don't have that downtime, if you don't have that, hey, I'm not doing anything. If you don't have that and you're just always trying to optimize, I don't think it's great. But it goes two ways, right? So I think that there are times when it's like, hey, I'm just chopping some vegetables and I don't want to be in the moment right now. I just want to listen. And so then, okay, fine. You got to pick and choose.
Sometimes I will find myself getting agitated because I'm sure my mind wants to think of something, and I just have a video playing in the background about some random topic, and I'm just like, I need to shut it off. I need to just think about what I need to think about because I can feel agitation starting to happen where my body's telling me, focus right now. You need to think of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting how we have adapted. And I think, I don't know actually who is better adapted to all of this technology and efficiency, but it's fun to adapt to it. Like, it's fun to think, to bring AI into our lives and produce more and think of business opportunities. I feel like it's such a fun opportunity for anybody who's tech minded to really adapt to this new suite of tech. And you can really change your life in terms of what you do day to day and how productive you are with it.
Yeah, I do think it is very interesting. We're in an interesting time. It can go two ways. It can be fun and exciting, and I think it also can be overwhelming and confusing and scary. I think it can go both ways. I've felt both, and I do think with the speed at which things are moving, I feel like a lot of people tend to lean towards that. Wow, this is overwhelming. This is just moving way too fast. So I do understand that. I think if you can chunk it down into digestible pieces and really have the space and the time to focus on one aspect of it, or one aspect of technology, or one aspect of AI, and really just dive into that versus saying, oh my gosh, the next thing's out, the next thing's out, I got to keep up. I think that if you can just focus and just understand a little bit of it piece by piece, I think you'll do far better than most. And if you're at the very cutting edge of it, then maybe you just feel like me, where you're like, oh my gosh, everything's coming out all the time. And it's also not a great place to be all the time. But hey, if you're at the cutting edge, sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah, I love that, Cahill. And so we're going to catch up in the next year. We'll do another episode, and we'll see where everything is with your businesses and with AI in general. Who knows? It may be avatars of us by then. But yeah,
That's
thank you so
scary.
much for joining the podcast.
Absolutely. I said that's scary if there's advertisers of us and there's Cahill 2.0 and 3.0 and there's Alex 7 and it's just Alex and fake Cahill talking to each other and anything's possible.
Let's hope it's still out.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. And if anyone's interested, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Cahill Camden. The two different products that I have are echojockey.com and pressjockey.com. So if you're looking to get more brand exposure, more media awareness, more influence so that you can build your business and have more traffic and be on more podcasts, then do check out those two platforms.
Awesome. Thank you, Cahill.
Perfect. I look forward to catching up with you in a year.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. And thanks everyone for listening. We'll talk to you soon.